Hello, my name is Brian Gleason. I'm the Global President of the Turnaround Management Association. I'm here with Adam Duso at the Distressed Investing Conference. Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me what space you play in the distressed market.
So Second Wind Consultants is a distressed advisory firm that focuses on transactional consulting. Most of our work is done as out-of-court restructurings. We do a lot with the Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code.
Okay, so let's break that down.
Sure.
You probably think everybody knows what that means. So first of all, transactional advisory. What does that mean? What do you do?
So a lot of the businesses that we see are over-leveraged. They're distressed, their cash flow coverage ratio is far off. Their senior secured lender is tired and wants to exit. So we need to find a way to transact on the business to preserve its value, but dispose of the assets in a way that doesn't get encumbered by the subordinate credits that may stop a successful reorganization.
So let me restate that. See if I got this.
Yeah.
So there's a business and you're shedding a balance sheet problem.
Yes.
And you're using a transaction to do that.
Correct.
And is that transaction what we traditionally think of as bankruptcy?
No, it's out of court. So we typically do a transaction under Article 9 of the Uniform Commercial Code, which allows us to work in just with the senior secured lender to send notices to subordinate UCC holders and dispose of the assets outside of a court proceeding, just within a private transaction with a buyer, seller, and the senior secured lender.
So we're selling the assets of a business.
Short sale, typically.
But the business is still going. So we're not selling, it's not a garage sale.
Nope.
And people are picking apart everything. There's still a business typically at the end.
We're preserving the going concern in the transaction to maximize recovery value to the creditors.
And why is that better? I mean, most people who maybe aren't in our distress space, they know bankruptcy. Why don't we just file bankruptcy? That's what everybody thinks. Why don't we file bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy can fit in certain cases, but in the lower middle market, it's become extremely expensive. The failure rate in the lower middle market for a successful discharge is well above 80%. So it's not a good fit for the lower middle market. And what an Article 9 or out-of-court restructuring allows you to do is make business decisions that increase value. It's not a class of creditors that you have to treat everybody equally. A buyer and seller can come to terms and conditions that are really best for all stakeholders while still honoring the waterfall of the senior secured creditor stack. So that freedom of being able to be outside of court and finding ways to maximize value, along with the fact that the cost and timeline of a public-facing insolvency proceeding in bankruptcy is prohibitive for most middle market companies. There's not just in Article 9, but any sort of out-of-court restructuring is a highly sought after. It's really the first stop. If you can't get a transaction done in an out-of-court restructuring, then you've got no choice but to go into the bankruptcy or receivership proceeding that is going to liquidate the underlying assets. I think that's a race to the bottom. Whereas we would like to try to find a way to, outside of a public-facing insolvency, sell the business for its maximum value.
So we're still trying to maximize the recovery, typically in your situation for a secured creditor. That's typically how this is working.
Yep.
Bankruptcy can work. There's reasons where bankruptcy works, but as you said, in the lower middle market, we're spending a lot of money in a bankruptcy. And when you say failure rate of 80%, what do you mean by that? What is failure rate in bankruptcy?
Well, when someone hires a bankruptcy attorney for a reorganizational plan, what they want is a reorganization where they exit bankruptcy still owning the company.
Yeah.
That 80+% of the time, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ends up in a 363 or something else, or a liquidating 11 or a Chapter 7, which just ends up liquidating the assets after all those expensive fees were already paid to all of the professionals involved. So if the success rate is less than 1 in 5, you have a fiduciary responsibility to try to do something else first.
Who are the people that you're solving the problems for?
Well, we get a lot from senior secured lenders because we're maximizing value for them. Asset-based lenders in first position typically love us because if they're collateral good and they want to exit a credit, an Article 9 will typically pay them off in full. So we get a lot of deal flow from those areas, and we get a lot of lead flow from businesses looking to avoid bankruptcy. So business owners reaching out. They met with a bankruptcy attorney. They see the high retainer costs. They know all the risks of going and the loss of control in a bankruptcy proceeding, and they seek us out. So we either are speaking directly with business owners who are looking for an alternative to bankruptcy, Or honestly, in the network of people here, we get a lot of our deal flow from senior secured lenders.
So one of the things that's changed in the industry, at least in the past 5 to 10 years, is merchant cash advances. Tell me your experience. You must be running into merchant cash advances.
Every day.
And tell me what your experience is with that and how you view them.
Every financial product has its place. MCAs are far too they're far too commonly used. They're not a way to actually finance your business. If you're using MCAs to run the day-to-day of your business, you're insolvent.
Yes.
That's what I think of MCAs. So if you're using it as a bridge, and that bridge has another side that is going to actually take out an MCA, it's a great way. It's a great use of funds. I got nothing wrong with them. If you're using it to make payroll, it's just a matter of time. So MCAs in the industry, they dilute collateral pools. They intercept revenue and collateral that belongs to senior secured lenders. They abuse the Uniform Commercial Code. And I am not pro-regulation at all as an individual, but this needs to be regulated.
So I, as a business owner, have taken on a senior secured lender and maybe 1 or 2 MCA loans. How does this work in the Article 9 world?
Well, MCAs bought a percentage of future receivables.
Yeah.
When we run an Article 9 sale, we're going to liquidate the business, including its receivables, in a sale to another third party and then honor the waterfall. So if you bought 15% of future receivables as an MCA, and there are no more receivables after the transactions, 15% of zero is zero. So it creates a contractual problem for the MCAs that still remain and were removed off, and sets the guarantor up to settle for pennies on the dollar because of the underlying weakness of an MCA contract.
Because the lender still has a first position, and you're unwinding a lien under UCC and a contractual right to a future asset that doesn't yet exist.
Correct. And will no longer exist because of the actual process that went underway.
And are you seeing more of this today than you were 5 years ago?
5 years ago, the average MCA we would see would be less than $100,000. We see 80% of our clients have MCAs. Several of them have them in the millions of dollars. So yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem.
And they're stacked.
Oh yeah.
It's not one MCA involved and one senior creditor. There's a senior creditor and an MCA who thinks they're the only MCA.
Yes.
But there turns out there's 3 MCAs that think
or 13.
Or 13 that all think they're the only ones.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. You are a big TMA supporter. Your organization has been a sponsor. You're actively involved. Your team is actively involved. What about TMA makes building a business, building a practice like yours, which is pretty unique, what is it about TMA that allows that?
TMA is a unique group of people that want to solve these types of problems. And good restructuring agents, regardless of if you're a CRO or you're a transactional consultant or an asset-based lender, you want to find creative ways to solve problems and solutions. So the great part about TMA is that these typically TMA transactions are not handled by one group. You're collaborating with lenders and third-party incoming lenders, exiting lenders, consultants, advisors, and being able to pull in those people from this group to execute transactions that you know are going to meet your expectations moving in. It's been a huge resource for us. You know, every one of our transactions has an incoming lender, an exiting lender. There's legal work that is needed from the documentation behind it. There's valuation work. And being able to pull on people that you know understand the assignment and can execute with a high level of quality. There's just, in distress, there's no margin for error. So trying to work with someone who maybe doesn't understand what you're trying to accomplish is going to burn time you don't have. You don't experience that in TMA. These are all experienced people. You get time to know them and mature relationship with them. And if I call some of these people, it doesn't matter what day it is or what time it is, they pick up the phone and they're willing to help. And it's not about their retainer or whatever it is. It's about building a relationship. That's what we love about TMA.
Adam, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.